I am calling this workshop Active Phonics, so as to contrast it with more knowledge-based approaches that tend to focus more on the details of phonics and on the knowledge of rules and sounds, and even sometimes on the precise teaching of the 44 phonemes in the English language. The child-centered approach I am suggesting in these videos emphasizes the development of children's skill in using phonics actively to make guesses when reading, writing, pronouncing words, and discriminating sounds. I think teaching phonics has many similarities with teaching grammar. Both are bottom-up approaches. They start with bits of knowledge and work towards the whole. But there is a danger with both, that they don't transcend this, and that both teachers and students get trapped in a bottom-up mindset, which can lead to an overload of information and a neglect of important skills. Teaching more and more difficult grammatical rules doesn't by itself lead to more communication skills or enable students to deal with language in a holistic context, and may have a negative effect, especially by making students too focused on accuracy and grammatical details and hesitate to speak. In a similar way, analyzing and practicing phonics doesn't by itself enable children to read stories for meaning and deal with holistic context. Teaching phonics effectively is not about teaching knowledge. It is about making it easier for the children to connect bits of knowledge into a mental framework that enables them to make guesses about new things they encounter. In other words, it is about developing skills. They need to build this mental framework themselves through noticing patterns, making guesses, and experimenting through trial and error in engaging activities, which for children usually means games and songs. The children learn phonics while playing, moving through a phonics sequence that fits together well and is meaningful for the children. While playing, the children discover each step and connect it with what they have learned in previous steps. It is also important that while teaching phonics, we have strategies for preparing children to move beyond phonics and build the skills they need to handle text in a holistic context. In these videos, I will introduce a step-by-step phonics sequence that works well in the kinds of classes I have been teaching for nearly 40 years. You may be teaching in a very different situation and use a different sequence, but I'm sure that many of the points I make can still be applied. There are a lot of factors that have an influence on which approach works best, such as the age of the children, and whether they are native speakers, English as a second language learners, or English as a foreign language learners, though this distinction is not always clear-cut, because the extent to which children have been immersed in English varies so much. The origin of methodology for teaching phonics is very important. A lot of popular phonics materials and methods of teaching phonics were originally developed for teaching native speakers of English or second language learners who may have quite a lot of exposure to English even before encountering phonics for the first time. In my opinion, some of the techniques and assumptions behind these methods need to be questioned when teaching phonics in a foreign language environment or with children who haven't had a lot of exposure to English, and I will look at some of these issues in the following videos. The appropriate method also depends on whether the children already have some reading and writing ability, whether they use the Roman script in their own language, and quite a few other factors. I should mention that my own experience of teaching phonics has been for nearly 40 years in an English as a foreign language environment. By that, I mean when the children leave the class, they are surrounded by their native language, and have very little natural exposure to English. My experience with teaching and designing phonics programs has been for children between 5 and 12 years old in 3 countries, none of which use the Roman script for their own native language. So if you are not teaching in this kind of situation, you may need to adapt some of the things I say. Whatever the situation we are in, I think the key tests of a good phonics sequence are whether each step builds logically and almost effortlessly on the previous step, and when a child has a reading or writing problem, whether we can go back down the sequence, find where the problem is, and build back up from there. I should point out that in this workshop, I will not say much about the role of writing and listening when teaching phonics, because I plan to look at both these skills in special videos. In the next few videos, I will introduce practical ways to help children learn phonics quickly and deeply, and prepare children to move beyond phonics.